Okay, we're up to Mem Gimel Amid Beis. Let's get a seek segue into this Gemara. Okay, we have two people. One was Mudanaf and the other individual. They're alone in the desert, and the one who's not allowed to have anah, he's starving to death, and the other one's got a nice amount of food, and he's got a problem. He's not allowed to eat from him. So if there was another individual there, what did we say? You give it to him as a matana, and Mimela he'll get from the other person. What happened? There's no other individual there. So we said there's a rock or a fence. You put the food on the rock or the fence, and you're mafker it. And then the person go ahead and take it, and everyone lives happily ever after. Says Rabbi Yossi Itzasa, that means of getting transmitting through hefker the food to the person who's not able to have a no is not permitted. Fred the Gemara, my time with Rabbi Yossi. What was the reasoning of Rabbi Yossi? Why not? What was wrong? And for the Gemara, I'll lump this. When you're mafka something, it's not pshat you give up ownership and now it's in no man's land, and that would go ahead and allow the person to take it. When you are mafka something, it still remains in your rishus. What it does do, it gives a person a right to come and get it. So Mimela, since he's getting it directly from you, putting on the rock doesn't help you because it's still like considered in your jurisdiction. So when he took it from you. Therefore, said Yossi, it's also to transmit the food to the rock because in essence he's taking it from you. That was Rabbi Yossi. Fed the Gemara Kasha. When is this talking about? When do you have to go ahead and come onto this vehicle? When you made a neder and then you were mafker. When the person was asa and then the act of hefkeris came. What happens if you were mafker the food first and then you made the neder? You were mafker the food first and then made the neder. Rabbi Yossi would say it's good. Read the Gemara, why? Like Rabbi Yossi is, who cares what came first, the neder or the act of being mafker? Either way, it's still in the jurisdiction of the one that he can't have enough from, even despite the fact the hefker came before the neder. You're all good, right? And for the Gemara, when a person goes ahead and is mafker, makes a neder, it's not on something that was mafker. True, it's in his rishos, but guess what? His neder was not on that particular food because why? It's halfway out the door already. So he didn't have that in mind. What do you have in mind? What's in my possession? This is not in my possession. Why? Because anyone can come take it, despite the fact it's in my possession. Despite the fact it's considered in my possession that he can't take it, right? That anyone else could take it. It's not a person doesn't have that in mind when he makes the neder. That was the teretz. And that was the teretz we were holding by. I didn't know the Gemara well enough yesterday, so I wanted to hold off. Okay, so that's where we're holding. That a person, when he has in mind something, he doesn't have in mind the thing that was out of his rishus already. He doesn't have that in mind, okay? So therefore, he was mafka the food, boom, made a neder, and what was he neder on? Anything that he totally has, but one that someone can come along and take, that he didn't have in mind, and therefore the person can come and take it. That's the teretz of the Gemara. Okay, next Gemara's kasha, we need to give you a little hakdama. We see it's a sugya aruch in shas, the sugya of a shchiv meira. A shchiv meira is literally his person is lying in rak. He's dying. Now we know to go ahead and make something yours, we need a transmission of violence, and usually it's done through a kinyan, right? We've been exposed to that kinyanim. Shikha, Mesira, Kesef, Shtai, depending on the vehicle, whatever, depending whether it's karka, you need a kinyan. This guy's dying. He says, I want my possessions to go to so-and-so. Says the Gemara in Baba Basra, Divrei Shchivmeira, Kekesuvim, Uchim Esurim Dami. The words of a Shchivmeira is Keksuvim, as if they're written, Uchim Esurim, as if they're given over, totally. It's considered done. You notice you don't need a kinyan. What happens if the shchiv meira gets better? He has a miraculous recovery. Then the matana is what returns. Because the whole reason he gave it is because he thought he's dying. Now that it sees that he's dying, therefore it goes back. Okay? So you don't need a kinyan. And when it goes back, it goes back.
It's not without it being a thing.
It's the chachamim, hefker. How mechanics work that you don't need a kinyan, but again, it works. It makes it work. Good. So now, here we have a following case. A guy goes ahead, guys, listen up. A guy goes ahead and he gives something to Reuven. He gives a gift to Reuven. Not all his property, partial property. He then gives the rest, and he's a shchimera. So right now, what will we say? In other words, even he makes a kinyan, but if he gets better, he gets it back, right? Right now. If he gets better, he gets it back. Mask him. Say bobblehead time. Mask him. Good. Now, what happens then? He goes, and I'm giving all my possessions to Shimon. So he gives a partial payment to Reuven. He gives all this stuff to Shimon. Good. So here's the question: did he go ahead and give everything except, or did he go ahead and give including? Did he go ahead and get except and including? So watch. We can ascertain this by the halacha, guys. Watch this. We can ascertain this by halacha. The halacha is the following: if he gave Taka Shchimera his present totally, and then he gave to Shimon except, if he gets better, should he be able to get both back? Yeah. He gave Reuven as a Shchimera and him as a Shchimera. Good? Okay. What happens if he gave to Shimon and then he went and gave everything to Reuven, including Shimon? So what was he showing? He was including what Reuven had. He's giving everything to Shimon, including Reuven. So what do you see? He didn't want it to be Divei Shchimera by Reuven, right? Because if he did, he wouldn't give everything over to Shimon. By giving everything to Shimon, he shows he's retracting on the gift to what? To? So Reuven's gift must have been what? Oh no, it must have been a real gift. Again, if Reuven is kaina, the halacha is Reuven's kaina, guys. So if Reuven's kaina, what do you see? You see when Reuven's kaina that really he retracted it, meaning I really wanted it to be what? A full-fledged deal. The haraya. Now I'm retracting it and giving to Shimon the words of a shchimera. If it was both, if Reuven was a shchimera, then Reuven also won't be kaina. Once the shchimera gets better, both things go back. But the Mishnah says Reuven keeps his. Why does Reuven keep his? You know why? Because when he gave it to Shimon, not only did he have in mind Shimon, he had in mind Reuven, and he was retracting from the original gift, which was a full-fledged gift. So what you see from all of this? Then when a guy retracts, he has the first guy in mind also. So therefore, how can you say by the case of Nedarim, where he's mafbid first, and then he makes a neder, that his das is only on the neder, and that was before? You see from here also, his das is not only on now, but it's any possession he has even from before. That's the Gemara. That's it. It's a really, really hard. That's it. That's the whole.
You want the Reuven to have it, you want to take that all. You want to take away from Reuven if he does.
What?
You don't want Reuven to have it all.
Right, exactly. But he can't. That's too late. He shouldn't give it. It's so late. If it was Divish Yankel, that's exactly the point. That he could take it back. They could be if what? If he wasn't going back on Reuven. When it says Reuven's, here's the halach. We're beginning from a given. Reuven's kaina. How is Reuven kaina? Go through it. No, he's getting better. What's the din of shchimera? When he gets better, it reverts, but it doesn't revert. That's good for the raya. That's the raya, the avi. Good for the raya that he gave it as a gift because it doesn't revert. Now, how is that possible? It only must be possible if he had in mind both. Because if he did have in mind both, Taka, Reuven's is shchimera, and that's a shchimera. It's a little knetch over there.
He's alive. So when he's alive, he needed Reuven for something. So he needed Reuven.
Again, we don't have to figure that. We all, we have to figure out, Yankel, how does this in the world have a question of the Gemara? We don't have to. We're not therapists. We don't have to figure out why he was thinking this. But everyone was thinking. He was thinking. All we have to figure out is we got a few lines of Gemara. How does it go? How does it fit? Guys, you with me? Before he dies. Right now. He's giving it to him now.
So he gives the guy 100 to the $1,000, we blew it at the track. Do they have to pay him back?
Right? Yeah. Or you could
He's
say
not really
it could be he's not zoicha until he dies. I would say he can't spend it yet. Right? He can't spend it yet until he dies because it's like in the state of animation, right? Okay. Now, guys, this is in learning. Don't get caught up in the minutia of the point. In other words, right now we don't have to do anything like Derish Shiva. All you have to know is one thing: that when he went ahead and reverted, he had in mind the first thing. That's all you got to know. It's the same thing over here. When he made the neder, he had in mind the hefker. That's the kasha. And guys, it's such a kasha. The Gemara has charata from it. We get off Rabbi Yochanan's taina. What's Rabbi Yochanan's taina? That you know what? It doesn't leave the rishus of the what? The person was mafgrid until it comes to rishus of the zaycha. We get off that. Okay, let's see it inside. I'm glad I gave it to you outside. Let's see inside. It's not an easy Gemara. Anytime you see all these rans. Whew. Anyway. Right, the cliff notes are on. Okay, so we're up to Masav Rava again. So we answered that any color noidim anyone makes a neder ain't dait al masha hifker. It's not on what he was mafker. Meaning his das is not on the first thing. Masav Rava. But I just told you for the last 10 minutes, the Gemara says in 3 words. Miksasan l'rishain, part of his gift is given to Ruvain. The kulon l'sheni, and all of it is given to Shimon. Rishain kaina, Ruvain is kaina, Sheni like kaina. If the shchiv gets better, then Ruvain is kaina. Guys, why is Ruvain kaina? Because you see that when he had in mind shchiv on both, it must be he's nimlach, he's having charata from Ruvain's a gift, and Ruvain meaning so Ruvain. It's a riot that Ruvain's gift was a real gift, and therefore he can't have charata. He gave it over to him. Okay, so guys, so that's very short and brief. So what's the kasha? You see that when a person has in mind, he has in mind the previous act. So too over here, when he made the neder, he had in mind the previous hefka. So now it's basically, guys, we're back to the original question. Why would Rav Shimon, if you tell me, Rabbi Yossi, if you tell me that Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion that something does not come to the rishus of the mafker, right? I love it. Guys, Benji's on the plane. I love it. Benji's on the plane. This is it. Bring some Torah to Dallas. There's nothing there, okay? Anyway, I love it. Okay, so now, if there's not, he has in mind the first thing. So question. So how does Rabbi Yossi deal with that? If he has in mind the first thing, it should make a difference whether neder, hefke, neder. The bottom line is it doesn't come to rishus of the wat until it leaves yours, and since you muda had no, it doesn't work. Ella lashon charata. So what's the teretz? Ella Amar Rava Hainu Taimed Rabbi Yossi Gizera Shuma Matna Space Chayrin. It's Gezerah of the Matna Space Chayrin. Okay, what's the Matna Space Chayrin like this? It's Gemara Memches, Mishnah Memches. Son and the father having a fight. Son says his father can't have enough from him. Son's getting married, and he wants his grandfather there. The son has charata. He wants his grandfather there. So what does he do? He goes and says the following. He said, "Listen." He says the following: my property and the suda, they're all given over to you. He goes to his friend. They're all given over to you. Why am I giving it to you? Now it's not mine anymore. My father can come on the property and my father can eat. Good. Makes a lot of sense. You could do that. Yeah, you could do that. Says the friend, oh, you gave it to me as matana? It's kaidish. It's kaidish. Takes these makdishit. Okay, that says, I didn't give it to you to be makdishit. I just gave it to you to keep it out of the hands of my father, right? That's not a real matana. That's not a real giving. So who adin over here? When he went ahead and was mafkarit, put it on the rack, right? When he was mafkarit, he wasn't really mafkarit, like he wasn't really giving it over. He just wanted the other to get it. He was working a workaround, but just like the Beis Charin was not a real matana, who adin this hefka is not a real hefka. That's the reason Rabbi Yossi. In other words, this This is not Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, what is it, guys? It means where it doesn't come to your rishus till it leaves the other ones, right? It doesn't leave your rishus till it comes to the other guy. Forget that. It's not true. You know why it's not true? Because it says if you're mafkarid first, Rabbi Yossi's maida, it works. If they have him for the neder. But if you're right, Rabbi Yochanan, and you swear Rabbi Yochanan, it should make a difference. Because the bottom line is, whether the hefker preceded the neder or the neder preceded the hefker, it's not leaving the rishus of the mudder until you take it, right? So because of that, we need a different svara in Rabbi Yossi. Why does Rabbi Yossi asa to mafka the food on the rock? What's the answer? It's not a good hefker. Where do you see that concept? From Matnas Beis Chayrin. Beis Chayrin was the name of a place. A guy went ahead, gave him a ton to his friend to go ahead and make a workaround. And his father, who couldn't have enough from him, should be able to go to his grandson's wedding. And he said, "You magna shit, I didn't give it to you for that." So who then over here? The hefker is not a good hefker. That's the svara of Yossi. That's Rabbi's svara. Good. That's Rabbi's svara. Guys, you good? Yes, no, maybe. Now, let's get to you. The daf is all about Rabbi Yossi's lumdus. Rabbi Yochanan's pshat and Rabbi Yossi. What's Rabbi Yochanan's pshat and Rabbi Yossi? Rabbi Yochanan's pshat and Rabbi Yossi is that it doesn't come to rishus until the guy takes it. Good. Okay, it's like watch. Let's say I would tell you the following: a person is mafka something, and it's right away. He can't change his mind. Is that like Rabbi Yossi or like the Chachamim? Okay, listen. A guy is mafka something, and a day later he says, "No, it's not hefker." Who would that work according to? Yes, Rabbi Yossi. Yes, Rabbi Yossi. But since it's not leaving your rishus till the other guy takes it, you still have some invitus over there. So he could change his mind. Like the Chachamim, once it's gone, forget about changing your mind. It's gone. Right? Keep that in mind, guys. Okay? That's the Hakdama. Keep that in mind. The Lomdisha Gemara. Tanya. New Gemara, and guys, we're going on the case of Rabbi Yochanan's pshat and Rabbi Yossi, that it doesn't come to the rishus of the zeicha. It doesn't leave the rishus of the mafker till it comes to the rishus of the zeicha. We're going according to that. Says the Gemara. Amafker esadeyu kol shleisha yamim yochel achsaboy. If someone goes ahead and his mafker is field for 3 days, yochel achsaboy. Who's that like? L'chayra, that's like it's like what? It's like Rabbi Yossi. Mikan ve'elich, from then and onwards, en yachal achsavoy, like the Chachamim. Now, Omar, tehesadazu mufkeres. Here's the sefer. This field should be mufka liyom echad for only 1 day, l'shabes achas for 1 week, l'chaydish echad for 1 month, l'shana achas for 1 year, l'shua achas for 1 shemitah cycle, until someone else is zeich in it. Whether him or somebody else, who's that guy's like? So Yossi. Now it's mashma, guys. The reisha is like the chacham. There's a question. The reisha is like the chacham, where it says after 3 days you can have charata. Guys, after 3 days you can't have charata. That's the Chachamim. Like Rabbi Yossi, you should be able to have charata as long as it doesn't come to someone's rishus. Yeah? Benji, talk to me so I could see. If you talk, you'll show up on the Zoom. No, you have to say something.
Hey, how you doing? On the plane, going to Dallas.
Okay. Anyway, now, according to this, one more time, guys, look at me, guys, one more time. It's a hard Gemara. If you're able to go ahead and change your mind, obviously it's like Rabbi Yossi, because I held on to it. I still have some bias on, because Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion, like Rabbi Yochanan, that it doesn't leave your rishus until it comes to the other guy's rishus. What?
Why can't it be hefker? He's just back.
No, I'm saying Yachal Achsavay the hefker. In other words, you're reverting to hefker. No. You could go get it if you want, but your hefker, the words of hefker, can you revert your hefker? You're being practical. Monkey, first come, first serve. If I want it back, I'll get it back. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the ability to go ahead and revert your hefker. Like the Chachamim, once you said it, it's gone. You can't do it. That's the verb. That's not the practicality of getting it. The question is, can you revert a hefker or not? Lachsabar. Lashon is lachsabar. Ari, that's lashon lachsabar. So you good?
Yeah.
So in other words, you hear what he's saying. Ari says, go get it. We're not talking about that. We're talking about, can you revert the act of hefker? Like the chachamim, you can't. You can't. You can't. It's gone.
If he verbally says, I'm taking back Hefteris.
What?
then
Right.
he
Doesn't
take
help.
possession of it.
Doesn't help.
That doesn't help.
Doesn't help.
Yes.
Doesn't help. He's gone.
According to Yossi?
According to Rabbi Yossi, yes.
Right, so he doesn't have to take back possession.
Correct.
Again.
Correct.
Just if he says it.
Correct. Correct.
Then you can take it back. Then we don't-
Again, we're not being practical over here. We just want to look shot. When it says Yochel Aksabay, of course you can take it back. But the lashon of Liaksabay, can he revert his hefkeris? Hefker is not the right word. Can he revert his act of? Yeah, I guess it is. Can he revert it? Can he revert the act of being mafka something?
What would be the nafkamina?
What?
What's nafkamina?
Nafkamina would be. Let's say someone would comment Ben Tayim.
We have this first.
In other words, according to the Chachamim, he says it doesn't make the guy who gets it would get it first. Like Rabbi Yossi, the guy can't be Zaycha because he took it off. It's not hefker anymore.
Oh, right, because he could be kind of himself, but if someone else came in the interim, he said.
That would be nafkamina. He wants a nafkamina, right? You had nafkamina.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so
But anything, there's gotta be a time frame, you can't go back.
well, not true. That's what we're saying, not true. And if I give you my matana, right? Let's say I'm giving this to Avrami Berenka. It's in my house. I put it aside to Avrami Berenka. Until you take it, Avrami, it's in my rishus. Amira doesn't do. Amira itself doesn't work by. Usually, Amira by matana doesn't work. You need a kinyan. Hefka. If you've been mafka it, yeah. Amira's yeah. You say when you say something's hefka, what are you doing? Well, again, according to the Chacham, there is no taking it off. That ain't no yachal aksabay. Why? Because when you said it's hefka, right?
There's no limit to how long.
Well,
2 years later.
okay, let's see. So now, let's see the lashon of the brayso. Now, let's go over the brayso again one more time. So Tanya, a mafkir sadehu, the person's mafkir sadeh, kol shleisha yamim yachal aksabay. For 3 days, he's able to have charata, and we have to figure out why. Mikan ve'elach ein yachal aksabay. Now, ein yachal aksabay clearly is the chachamim, guys. Good. The Reisha is the Rishonim speak out why it's according to the why 3 days. We'll see in the Gemara why. But right now, guys, all I want you to prove to you this is the Chachamim. Why? And it's hefka. You can't change. You see that's the Rabbanon? Good. You see that. Next. Seifa. Amar Aleph. Amar Tehesadazu mufkeres liyom echad. The sada should be mufker for 1 day, the Shabbos achas for 1 week, the Chodesh achas for 1 month, the Shana achas 1 year, the Shua achas. Actually, zochaba before anyone zoicher it. Bein hu bein acher yochel achsabai. Who's that according to? Rabbi Yossi. Mishe zochaba bein hu bein acher and yochel achsabai. Reisha Rabban and Sefer Rabbi Yossi, guys. Right? You got a problem. The Reisha that says you can't change your mind, that's the Rabbanon. The Sefer that says what you could is Rabbi Yossi. So, guys, 2 terutzim. One teretz is going to be it's all the Rabbanon. The other teretz is going to be all Rabbi Yossi. Okay, now, Amma Ula says Ula. Seif nami Rabbanon. The Seif is the Rabbanon. Now, guys, if the Seif is the Rabbanon, how could you be chayza? Guys, that's the kasha. Ihachi. If you're telling me the Seif is the Rabbanon, why are you able to change your mind? If it's the Chachamim, once you were mafkir it, you're mafkir it. It's gone. Yet it says you could change your mind. It says shiny shana ushvua v'lo shchichi. For a person to be mafka in a time period saying it's only hefka for this amount of time is leishchichi. What does that mean, guys? What does that mean? Listen, guys, listen up. If you want to be mafka something, what do you say? What is the guys? Look at me, guys. What is the act of hefker? Giving up bilus, giving up ownership. That's what it means, right? So what? It's hefker for a week. What am I saying? Well, I'm not really giving up. By putting a time limit on it, right? What am I saying? Yeah, it's a steer. It's a steer minei ubei to hefker. That's what it means over here. Really, it's according to the Chachamim. You know why? Because this hefker is not a real hefker. It's like shchichi that this is hefker. The lashon of the Ran, guys. This is not I'm going to say for them. What the lashon? The time of dachlei zacha by Benu. The shiny shua b'Shabbos leishchichi. Klima. What does it mean leishchichi? Leishchichi de mafkri in shchipi chi agavna. People are not mafka things in this way. When you're mafka something, what do you say? Have you hefka ka'afra the ara, right? K'mafka yechametz. You say it's a shtik shmutz. You want it out of your jurisdiction by him limiting it and saying, well, that's leishchichi for me to say it that way. Therefore, it's all the chacham. Guys, it's a beautiful svara. It's a beautiful svara, right? In itself, the lashon, if hefker is giving up ownership, saying, well, it's only hefker for a week or for a day. By saying a week or a day, you're saying, well, I'm not really giving it up. Good. So therefore, it's according to Ula, it's all according to the chachamim. So the Reish is the chachamim because yachal aksabay, and the sefer is according to the chachamim in yachal aksabay. Why? Why yachal aksabay? Because okay. But now, that's one way. Now we have a second way to learn, and it's all going to be according to Rabbi Yossi. So Reish Lakish argues on Ula. With the sefer Rabbi Yossi, how do we know the sefer Rabbi Yossi? Because he said yachal aksabay. Reish nami Rabbi Yossi. The Reish is also Rabbi Yossi. The Reish is also Rabbi Yossi, right? Now, what's the kash in the Reisha? Why ein yachal aksabay, guys? Look, guys, the bottom line is, look at the Amid Bays that we just did. The last three words are difficult in Rabbi Yossi. After 3 days, ein yachal aksabay, correct? What do you mean ein yachal aksabay? Let Rabbi Yossi, you always get yachal aksabay, right? It says, V'reisha hainu taima, it says, V'reisha nami Rabbi Yossi, V'reisha hainu taima, like lishtach Torah's hefker. You shouldn't go ahead and forget Torah's hefker. What we're worried about is that if you're always able to go ahead and retain something, get it back, you may think that this is not really hefker, it's a matana. What is hefker? And there's nafkaminas, guys. Watch. According to Rabbi Yossi, guys, look, I can go ahead and do two things. I can give this to Yehuda as a present. I could say it's hefker, and Yehuda comes along and takes it. Either way, he's getting it. Can I have charot like Rabbi Yossi in both cases? Absolutely. Until, as a matana, it's not his till he gets it. And like Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yossi, it's not leaving my reshus till he gets it, correct? In both ways, the mechanics are the same. But in halacha, it's very different. If I say this is hefker, and it's truma, and it's a crop, it's potter in truma semaisa. If it's a matana, it's still chayiv in truma semaisa. If it's a matana, it's chayiv. If it's hefker, it's potter. Rabbi Yossi is worried that if you could always change your mind, people are going to forget that there's something such as hefker, and it's going to lead to problems. With going ahead and taking truma of something and ma'aser on something else. This. Let me just finish the lashon over here. Right. The Chachamim made a takana. Really, guys, like Rabbi Yossi, you should always be able to change your mind. So what's the question? Why after 3 days can't you change your mind? After 3 days? Because we're worried that we're gonna forget that there's such a thing called what? Hefker. You're gonna think it's a matana. Now, what's gonna happen? You're going to say this is a matana. Really, it's hefker and it's pata. If it's pata, you may take off from the chiyav al patur. It'll create problems. Yes.
Right? If I say it's hefker, do I need to do the shoot on it? If I say, you know what?
Of course. Okay.
Even though.
Okay. This is machlokes. Right.
Because it's 3 days. It's been that 3 days, so it's really mine. So I don't need it.
Okay, it seems to be that it seems for you yourself, yachal aksava, yeah, you wouldn't need a new kinyan. It goes back to you. It will revert to you. Right. Okay, so let's see the Gemara now. Let's look back at the way let's put both pshatim in the brisa, okay? Let's go through the first brisa. There's a question on that. You're not able to have charata. Why? Because it's going to the chachamim. What about the Seifa? At the end of the Baisa, it says, you're able to go, and then before that, actually, I say you can't. Such a hefker, says Ula, that you made based upon contingent on time is not a good hefker. Okay, now, This brisa, the second one is Rabbi Yossi, because it says Yachalachsaboy. The first brisa, what's pshat? Hamafkes sedeu koshlesh yomim Yachalachsaboy. That's Rabbi Yossi. Mikan ve'elach in Yachalachsaboy, because the Chum made a takana. If we always never let you have charata, they're going to forget that such a thing as hefker, and that's going to create what? And something is hefker, it's going to create problems. Okay, those are two pshatim. So back in the Gemara, ihachi. If you're telling me you're worried about Taras Hefka, guys, why in the first 3 days, right, are you able to have charata? Guys, look back at the Yomid Beis. But why? Why are you able to have charata? If I'm going to worry about that, you're going to forget Taras Hefka. Let me worry about that as well. I'm a Rabbi if they haramoyin. You're worried about what? The Ramoyin. You're worried about the liars. You're worried about the liars. People who go ahead. They would go ahead and they use the workaround. They come to the field, they say it's hefker, and they change their mind. Right? So what do we do? And you can't have charata. You can't have charata. It's done. In other words, there's a loophole. There's a legal loophole in the system. If you're a cheap guy, go to your field, be mafka the field, and then be cleaner back right away. So what do they say? Can do. Right? No can do. So that's the reason why they said, right? That's why they said 3 days. Why they said 3 days. You're worried about him now. You're worried about it should be hefker, and it should be that you should not be able to have charata, that you shouldn't be able to have charata. So the answer is we're worried about the Ramoyin, the Mafkirin, v'Hajj. I think after 3 days they're not worried about lawyers. There's a long run over there. It's a long run over there. Says the Gemara the following. You're mafkir. You're mafkir. You're mafkir. You're verbal. You're verbal. You say, how is the hefka? We had a shaili yesh adla hefka. Remember, we had the whole shaili yesh adla hefka in the Davov. It's a lashon, right? It's a lashon like anything else. Now says the Gemara, "Avodairaisa loy have you hefka." Now you're telling me midaraisa is not hefka, right? You're telling me, guys. You're telling me on that din, the 3 days that you're not able to have charata. You're not able to have charata. That why? Because of the tikkun rabbanon. But midaraisa, what? It's not really hefka. Like Rabbi Yossi, midaraisa is not hefka because it didn't come to the other person's rishus. One question on the base. Now this thing isn't really hefka, but you think it is hefka, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to go ahead. You're not allowed to take from hefka. Ma'isa has to be taken off a chi of ma'isa. You can't take off something that's potter from ma'isa. That's to go from a chi of ma'isa. But this thing really what is chayiv. You're going to think what it's potter, and you'll end up going ahead taking chi of port. Why aren't you worried about that? And for the Gemara, darminole kima astra. When you go ahead and take off ma'isa, asamine ubei. Go ahead and take off ma'isa only from this. In other words, you can't take ma'isa off any other spot. You got to take it off from this. Okay, so let's get some of the We're going to call it a day here over here because they're very short out for tomorrow, and let's put it together. Okay, let's get it together. We had a Mishnah. Mishnah said that if a person makes mudah hana from his friend, and his friend is stuck in a desert, he doesn't have any food. He goes ahead, he puts it on a rock, he's mafker it, and the other person can take it. Says Rabbi Yossi, the other person can not take it. It's what it's us to do. Says Rabbi Yochanan, I'll tell you the reason it's us to do it because it doesn't leave the rishus of the mudar until what it comes to his rishus of the madir. The mela, since it doesn't leave his rishus, it's like you give him directly. That was Rabbi Yossi's pshat. We asked on as Rabbi Yochanan's pshat in Rabbi Yossi. We asked on that what from the case of where you made a neder and hefker, or vice versa, you made a hefker and neder. Rabbi Yossi's mind, if you make a hefker first and a neder afterwards, that you could take it. But why? The should make a difference. The hefker, once, even though the neder came after the hefker, the hefker, you still, when he actually took it, he took it from your rishus like Rabbi Yossi, like Rabbi Yochanan. So he answered that he wanted to tell you that his mind wasn't on that. We said, what do you mean his mind wasn't on that? But by Shlurin, obviously, his mind was on that. So therefore, Rava often another pshat in Rabbi Yossi, right? Rava often a second pshat in Rabbi Yossi, and he said that it's the reason why like Rabbi Yossi is asa is to take the rock is because of matnas beischarin. What was matnas beischarin? It wasn't a real matana. The guy gave it as a matana only to be able to circumvent and allow his father, who couldn't have enough for him, to come to his grandson's wedding. So Huadin over here, the hefker is not a real hefker. He only did it to allow this person to eat. That's what Rabbi says. Good. the Gemara then went back and visited Rabbi Yossi's pshat. The Gemara then went back and Rabbi Yochanan's pshat and Rabbi Yossi, that doesn't come to the rishus. It doesn't leave the rishus of the mafker until it comes to the rishus of the zeicher. Right? According to that, we had a brisa that seemed to be the ratio that said you're not able to change your mind was the chachamim. The sefer said you could change your mind is Rabbi Yossi. How do you answer that? So we said very nicely. We had two pshatim. Ula pshatim, we said they're both according to Rabbanon, and really, so the first pshat works out well. Any yochel achzaboy. The second one yochel achzaboy because it's not a real hefker because he put a time limitation on it. Or we had Reish Lakish's pshat. Yeah, Reish Lakish's pshat. Everything's according to Rabbi Yossi. So the second one works out that you're able to change your mind. The first one, why would you wanted to say if you were not able to change your mind, you can always lose the Torah of hefker. So in order to go ahead and ensure that you're not able to change your mind to show that the hefka, it doesn't exist, or else you're going to go ahead and say you'll make a mistake between hefka and matana. In both cases, hefka and matana, you can change your mind, correct? And mistakenly, a person is going to say that fact is what is not hefka, it's a matana, and it's pata, but it's really it's chayiv in ma'aser, but really it's pata, and you may come to go make a mistake. We'll see you tomorrow morning, Bez Hashem.